Hi, thank you for joining me. So today I'm going to do a video response to xcornmuffinx. He just did a video about his top PlayStation Vita games. And this is just nostalgic. It reminds me of back when YouTube had a lot of gaming vlog content on it, and people were doing a lot of video responses to each other. But I couldn't help it. I'm sort of stepping away from YouTube, but I just really enjoyed Joe's video, and I wanted to let you guys know about it, and I just wanted to throw in my 5 Vita games. These are ones, like he said, that basically I enjoyed the most. It's not even necessarily the ones I've played the most, although I did play these all, a lot. Some of them I platinumed, or at least completed the games once and things like that. And yeah, mine are all different from Joe's, so that's kind of why I wanted to share them with you guys and let him know what my picks are. So I mean, if you watch both the videos, you're going to get like 10 different PlayStation Vita games that I think all sound amazing. Some of the ones on his list I've played and did enjoy as well. But yeah, so let's get started here. I am a little embarrassed because looking at all of these, they're pretty much all visual novels and dating, maybe not dating sims, but they have sort of dating sim elements to them. Anyway, for starters, we have Virtue's Last Reward. Now, this is a game I know a lot of people really enjoyed. This is in the 999 series. I believe that started on the Nintendo DS. It seems heavily inspired by the Saw movies. You basically have these 9 people who are abducted. They're thrown into this death room, and they have to get out. Maybe not just a room, but a game basically. So very much you even have a diabolical character. It's this little rabbit, who I think is an artificial intelligence that sort of torments you as you're trying to escape your inevitable doom along with these other people. And so the premise of it is certainly horrific, but it sort of grips you. It's exciting. You're like, oh my gosh, how are these people going to survive? And it's kind of this mystery too. You're like, well, why were these people kidnapped? And why are they being forced to play this game with their lives at stake and things like that. So the gameplay of this game, in some ways it is a story. It's in some ways a visual novel where you are doing a lot of reading. There are branching paths, but there is a gameplay element to it, which is essentially puzzle solving. And it's not really a puzzle game like a Falling Blocks puzzle game, but you do have these escape the room scenarios where it's kind of like the adventure game elements of, let's say, Resident Evil or something like that, where you have to, collect a key, you have to solve a riddle, you have to open a door, or something like that. You're doing a lot of that kind of stuff, but crank that up a little bit. I know I did have to look up a handful of the puzzles, to find the solutions, because I just got stuck. But once, just for me, once I got my head around the kind of puzzles that they were utilizing in these, I got much better at figuring the puzzles out on my own. And that's one of the things that's really fun about this. It does challenge your brain a little bit, and it gets you problem solving and puzzle solving, which I think is super fun. And then the story of it also is really engaging. There's some funky science fiction elements to it. I really like how there's basically a whole bunch of branching paths, and as something of an omnipotent observer, as the player, you're actually reaching a lot of these bad endings essentially, but gleaning more information about the overall story. And I think there's only really one true ending to this. I mean, there pretty much are to most of it. Well, not necessarily. It depends on the type of visual novel. So there's only really one true ending to this. But the journey getting there is super great, and it's a fun story. It's a really interesting story that I just it's fun to experience. So I really loved this game. I really like that an awful lot. Next we have Steins Z80. Now, this is even more so than Virtue's Last Reward, more of a traditional visual novel. So you're playing through it. I mean, you'd call it an adventure game, basically. It's a Japanese-style adventure game. But you're not just picking, look and talk and move and things like that from a menu. It's all basically there's these points where a branch can happen. It all happens through interfacing with your cell phone. So you might end up like making a phone call or not making a phone call, or answering a text message or not answering a text message, and things like that. And this again though, it's very otaku culture-ish. So you have this group of friends. They're like just these nerdy people in Akihabara. They basically they just like trying to make gadgets. They're like inventors, and some of it's also just like this dude's childhood friend and the girl that works at the maid cafe down the street and stuff like that. But they end up it's kind of a hard science fiction story where they end up getting involved in time travel and like all these weird time travel shenanigans. This includes some like artificial intelligence and things like that, and it's just super good. I loved my time with this. I definitely recommend. Again, if you guys like time travel stories and like narrative, aren't put off by like consuming a narrative via ostensibly a video game, really love Steins Z80. Next, this is a bit more dating sim-ish, and that is Criminal Girls Invitation. This actually is, though, an RPG in its gameplay. This was originally released on the PSP in Japan only, and this is the Japanese version of this, released on the Vita. Now, it actually did get a release from Nipponichi, I believe, here in North America at any rate. And this is excellent. I love this game. It has a ridiculous premise and some ridiculous elements to its gameplay. It's a little embarrassing. But basically you play... I've also done a review on this game. You can check out a little bit more there. But you play a guy who is apparently not dead. But he is tasked with guiding the souls of these dead people through purgatory. So you have these... maybe 7 girls or 9 girls or something like that. There's a bunch of girls that have ended up in purgatory. And so you must discipline them and guide them through what is essentially a dungeon crawling RPG. It's not a first-person dungeon crawler, so you can see your little character sprites walking around on a map, essentially sort of a maze map. And then you have these random battles in this dungeon. They're super fun. They're kind of unconventional. You have 4 characters on the screen at one time, and each round you pick one of the characters to perform a move. So like the next round, there's going to be like a different set of moves from each of the 4 characters that you can then pick, and you can like get some of the moves to sort of chain off of each other a little bit, and it's actually quite fun. It's fun, like, raising the characters up and sort of building their stats up and things like that. Additionally, there's these mini games where you level your characters up by essentially like BDSM like punishment sessions, and like they basically just play out as like little mini games where you like tap the screen or like swipe or something like that, and they're definitely sexualized. But like I don't know, it's fun. It doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, I would say maybe don't play this game. But this was quite well received even. A sequel was made, and the sequel was also even released here in North America, which I think is kind of amazing. I do have both of the games, but unfortunately, like, this one is still the one that I've played the most of. I really need to sit down and actually play the sequel, but I really enjoyed my time with this, and I'd play this game more too. Actually, I only finished it with one of the girls, and it's sweet too. It has, like, at the end, there's it's sort of like a romantic adventure game where like the endings all sort of have to do with each of the girls, and sort of like you get to fall in love with them and stuff. It's very cute. It's a cool game. And so similarly, also very 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 similar style of game is Neptunia PP, Hyper Dimension Neptunia PP. Now I love the Neptunia games. I talk about them. They don't end up hitting a lot of my lists, so I'm glad that Neptunia PP is on here, because I do feel like I did a review of this too, and I feel like I may have undersold it just a little bit in that, like, looking back on all of the Neptunia games, a lot of them are RPGs, and they're fun RPGs. They're maybe not, like, the greatest RPGs in the world, but, like, the battle systems they've kind of refined as time has gone on. But one of the things that's great about the series is the characters, and I think people really get into the characters. Like, somebody left a comment on one of my videos recently where it's like, you know, the Neptunia games are like, they're like just a good friend. You know, it's like coming back to like a good friend to play like the Neptunia games, and that's what they are. Like, the characters are all like your friends, kind of. They're super fun, and so what's great about PP is that it's completely character focused, and it does basically play like a romantic adventure game. There is a gameplay element to this in that you are a producer. So this is one of the first games with like a self-insert character. So you actually have to play this character kind of like Criminal Girls, where you're like spirited away to this other world, you know, game industry, of course, in this case. And so you have to be a producer for these girls to become like pop stars, essentially. So they're like singing and dancing and getting on stage and stuff like that. So you're basically, it plays kind of like a simulation game, or like a raising simulation. So you're basically like running the girls through their daily schedules, where you're giving them voice lessons, and you're having them participate in like sort of PR events and things like that. But it doesn't actually, it's not really a simulation. It's more of an adventure game. You do raise like stats, though. It's like basically the girls' popularities. I sort of forget exactly how it keeps track of it, or if it's in different regions, sort of like the RPGs or what. It's been quite a while since I played this, but anyway, that element of it in itself is sort of fun. And then you perform concerts, and so while you're doing the concerts, you're going to be triggering like lighting effects and like different things. But the meat of this game, I would really say, is the character interactions. So you're able to like form units with the characters if you'd like to make. You know, there's really only like the four main characters from the game. So you have Neptune, you've got Noir, Vert, and Blonde. So the four main goddesses, basically. And so you can kind of have them team up if you want, and they can perform together. You can have them perform separately, but there's a lot of chances for the characters to interact, and there's a lot of chances just to like get to know the characters better and like spend more time with them. So unlike the RPGs where it's just the story of the characters, like as it relates to you know, just whatever's going on in the RPG world. In this, it's like it's more about spending more time with these characters that you love, and get them to like interact with each other a little bit too. And it's just in such a fun way. Like, this game is super heartwarming, and it does have essentially like those romantic adventure game endings with each of the characters. I've gotten all the endings in this. I think I ended up missing a platinum in this because like you have to have triggered every scene with every character, and I don't know if it's glitching or what, but it's sort of random, and I went through with like the last character. I needed to get all of her scenes, and like I just couldn't trigger one or two of the scenes with them. There's like a scene or two that I'm missing, which is kind of a bummer. But if you like the characters in Neptunia, this game is just great. It's super fun. And next, another RPG. And I haven't, this is the only one I think I haven't done. Well, I don't think I did a review for Virtue's Last Reward, but I haven't done a review for this either. That's a Valhalla Knights 3. I absolutely love this game, and this does still, a theme here. You know, this does still have like some like romantic adventure game elements to it, just a little bit. But it's very tongue-in-cheek, and this is something really special, I think, and I don't hear anybody talk about this. The whole Valhalla Knights series, I think it really originated on the PSP. I could be wrong about that, but I do know that at least I think Valhalla Knights 1 and 2 appears on the PSP. There's a Valhalla Knights for the Wii, and I have the Wii game. I don't have the games on the PSP. I would actually kind of like to have those. Maybe I have them digitally, or maybe I was planning to get them digitally. But Valhalla Knights 3, this game, It's wonderful. You play as a prisoner, and again, I think what I like about this, it's cheesy in that way that it just tickles me. You know, I love, there's some element of like sort of B movie cheese that you get, especially in games that are sort of tongue in cheek, but like kind of just ultra charming. That you can just hit that sweet spot. I think for me, like one of those games is Illbleed on the Dreamcast. This doesn't have the same atmosphere as that, but it has that same sort of feeling of just like the creators were having so much fun with this game. So you basically play this character who's been thrown into this prison, but you've ended up sort of being this double agent where it's like you've been hoodwinked by this one faction that is trying to get information or gain control in like this war that's going on, and so you get thrown into this prison and you have to work for them to like get information about, I don't know, the other factions. So like it starts right off, it's just wonderfully cheesy, and it just gets better from there. You know, of course the prison is full of a whole ton of just kind of like lovable anti-heroes, and honestly, and like everyone is like just more innocent and just silly than anyone would be, and in a prison basically. And also this prison isn't like super security, it's basically, it's sort of like just this little microcosm of like a, almost like a town. It basically just functions like a hub town in an MMO, and the gameplay is actually very MMO-ish, but it's not an MMO. It's you can play ad hoc multiplayer on it, but you're essentially, you know, you start off at a low level. I think you can pick the composition of your entire party. I think you actually you kind of like recruit followers. I forget exactly like the mechanics of it. I think you hire basically like people to be in your party. But there's great customization with how you control all aspects of that, and how you like raise up your party, like what classes you have for them, and like all their gear and stuff. And it's done really well. It really reminds me of like those highly customizable dungeon crawling RPGs from, you know, way back. But the gameplay is a bit more like an MMO where you go out into a field, you're fighting the low level monsters, and you know you sort of like go and camp the higher level mobs and stuff like that, but you're not competing with anyone else. There are dungeons in this game, and they're wonderfully. I think I mentioned before in another video talking about this, like they're horribly designed, and I love it. Like it's like, they're still fun to play, but it's like they're just these like blobs of dungeons. There's it's funny. And you know, so where I like think like some of this is a little, you might call it a little janky or something. I would just call it a little low budget. It's like a lot of this stuff is really it's low budget, and it's kind of B movie-ish. But they have so much fun with this, and you also have that like there are the high level shops. So there's like this one street that has like the good shops, and then there's like this slum that has like the crummy shops. But the crummy shops are just like what you would expect from a shop. If you go into like the high end shops, you basically you pick like a courtesan basically to who's like your liaison to the shop, and so like all of your transactions go through them, and but you get to know them like better, like sort of the more you go to the shop. And so there's this whole like dating sim element basically to that portion of it. And I just love like the battle system and the customization of it. Like it really keeps you playing, and the world is just so interesting. Again, it's like it's just odd and cheesy in a lot of ways. But I could not get enough of this game. I really enjoyed it, and by the time I got to the end of the game and basically finished the story, like I had characters that like I was just sort of prepping to move on to like secondary character classes that were like way better. So I think that they're I mean I don't remember exactly how the enemy and dungeons work, if it's really worth it to like make these characters super strong, but I feel like there's probably dozens of more hours that I could put into this game where like just sort of maxing, you know, raising my characters' levels and getting their gear better and doing that kind of thing. And like if you know, if you dig that sort of thing in like a really cool, you know, battle system. I think this game delivers in spades. It's super fun. So anyway, those are my 5 games. Like I said, in retrospect, I don't know how I feel about that, but they really are the games that I enjoyed the most. So I hope that was fun, and I hope you guys check out Corn Muffin's video. I just wanted to add my 2 cents in. You know, this is something that used to be fun, and I just figured I'd chime in. So that's all. Thanks for watching. Hope you join me again.